Hi guys, it's Dakota. I hope everybody's doing well today. So today's video, a little bit different, I guess. I'm doing a video on fog magic, what it is and what is it, and how does that relate to anything? And so a quick little how this came to be. Self-organized here. Um, So the other day, that morning when I woke up, it was really, really dark in my bedroom, and so I opened my curtains, which is what I do every morning. My bedroom it faces the pasture. I mean, our horse fat pasture is just right there, and I open it up, and sometimes there's deer, there's wild turkey, there's geese, ducks, whoever happens to roam through, fox, coyote, whoever happens to walk through the pasture. A lot of times I get the gift of seeing that. And but on most days I get the gift of seeing my horse, and whose name is Starbuck, by the way, and not named after Starbucks, the coffee shop. Starbuck is 20 and a half years old. He'll be 21 in 2022. And so, yeah, he was named Starbuck long before I knew really even about Starbucks. Um, but anyway, so I took a picture of him and then I posted the picture. I had my coffee and everything, and then I posted the picture on Facebook. And once I got it posted, I was looking at it before I actually posted it, and make sure everything was good. And I started looking at the picture, and really that fog just sort of drew me in. I mean, I really just kind of got drawn into the whole mystical look of it. You'll that is the picture that is the intro picture to this video. So if you go on my channel, I mean that's what you see first, right? And so it was just very mystical looking and very mystical feeling. So I decided that I was going to do some work on that, because certainly, you can use anything and everything uh, to do our spell work or whatever, spell work, meditation. Maybe you want to use it for a journey work, whatever the thing is. How can I use this? Just like I just found this leaf on the way in, I thought it was beautiful. Yesterday, I found one that was red, and it had, where it was starting to die out, it had spots. The spots were in the shapes of hearts. I mean, it was beautiful. I saved it. It's in a book. I pressed it in the book, and I'm going to save it. I just absolutely love it. There's a message in that, and I love it. And I felt like it was a gift of love, from the universe. I don't know. Anyway, um, so yeah, I decided that I would do this video on fog magic and what it is, how I feel about it, and an idea of what you can do with it. So here we go. So I did a little bit of research because I didn't have a lot of time. This was just sort of a spur of the moment kind of thing. And there's some history and some Celtic, Gaelic folklore, mythology about fog. And it said that when, the villages would all be doing their thing, and then they would get word that the soldiers was coming, the army was coming, and was going to, there was going to be war, and they were going to pillage the town and, do whatever they do. And so the villagers, the witches, summoned the fog, and they ran off into the fog so that when the soldiers and stuff got there, they couldn't find them. So they actually, it was it was a way for them to be hidden, so that the people that were coming for them couldn't find them, couldn't see them. So I thought it was pretty interesting. I kind of liked that. So that got the wheels turning a little bit. And then I read that, it can also be considered the witching hour, because they thought that when the fog rolled in, that was when the witches were doing their spells. And nobody wanted to be outside in that because they were afraid that they would get lost in the witch's spell, when actually it was just the fog. And so they were afraid that they would get like caught up in that, or get lost in that. So they would stay indoors. But I thought that was kind of neat that they, they claimed that that was the witching hour when the witches did spell work. So I thought that was kind of neat. All right. The other thing that I learned was fog can really be considered liminal. It's liminal time, liminal space. So therefore, it's a really good time to work with spirit energy, to work with, to do energy work, just plain old energy work. Um, it's a good time to do astral work. And what really struck me and helped me to move further into what I have for you today is that fog, like I said, the people would run into the fog to hide, to conceal themselves. So the fog is really concealing. It is secretive. Um, it basically then holds secret because we don't want to get lost. And the fog can be very dangerous as well, because we certainly during a heavy fog we don't want to be out, even on a light fog when you can't see more than a mile down the road. If you're driving, you have to be really careful because you can't see anything. um, you don't want to go wandering off into the woods because you can get lost. If it's really foggy, you can't see, so it is hidden. It's a place to hide and conceal. So it would be that place of secrets. I love that. I just loved it so much. So that got me to thinking about, of course, my tarot deck is at the shop, so bear with me. um, in fact, let me pull it up and just show you on the phone. Okay, sorry I have to do it this way, but this is the Moon card in the Witch's Tarot by Ellen Dugan, and it just happens to be the deck that wants me to work with it. I will tell you that it is not my favorite deck. Um, Aesthetically, I mean, the artwork is okay. It's not my favorite. Not that it's bad. I mean, it's good artwork. I mean, it's good. It's just not my style. It's not my way. Um, but it really, for whatever reason, it really speaks to me intuitively. But anyway, so there is her moon. She calls it the Moon card. And you can see, and here's the other thing, like, so she refers to this woman here as Hecate. I don't see that at all, other than the fact that here's a woman, she's wearing a belt with some keys and she's holding a torch. But that does not, it doesn't resonate as Hecate to me whatsoever, other than those mentions that I said. Okay, so here she is, she's in a dark forest, and it's obviously it's foggy, and there's these two wolves behind her, and so she could appear to be maybe lost in the woods. Let me get that off of there. There we go. So she could be lost in the woods. And so when that card comes up, a lot of times for me, when I'm reading for clients and that card comes up, I always think of, what it's sort of like the boogeyman under the bed, or the boogeyman in the closet, right? We think that there's something in there, but because we can't see it clearly, and or that there's a figure over there in the corner, it's got arms, and it's scary because it's dark in your room. But if you turn the lights on, then you'll see that that was your jacket that you threw over the chair, or there's nothing under the bed. What you felt that you thought were feet were actually your shoes. I mean, so what I like to tell people about that card is that, and this is not a video about that card, about tarot. I just wanted to tell you how this kind of works in with the whole fog thing, is that yes, they look like wolves, and perhaps they're growling, and she's maybe trying to get away. She's trying to find her way. She's lost, trying to find her way, and these terrible wolves are stalking her. But if she would just stop for a moment and let that fog lift and turn around and face those demons, face that which is haunting her, that which is stalking her. She might just find out that it was the neighbor's dogs that got loose, and they're just giant puppies. They're love dogs. So it's really about that particular card to me really resembles that. Stop what you're doing and facing the fears. Okay, so that card came into my it came into play. Plus, I don't know if you noticed on the card, I'm not going to pull it up again, but it had a waning moon. Okay, so the moon is waning, which is a time of releasing and letting go. All right, so like I said, the witching hour, the liminal space, the concealing, the secrets and stuff, that got me to thinking about that particular card, because that's how I feel when that card comes up in a reading. So then that led me to further researching about the fog and what you can do with it and everything. So I'm going to refer to my notes a little bit. But so as we know, it's really, really hard to see through the fog. You can't see through it. And it is like, I added this, it is like looking through a veil. And that's what I was saying. When it's dark in the room, those demons and the boogeyman that's under the bed, because you look down and you saw 2 feet, or you looked in the corner and you saw these arms. But if you lift the veil, if you turn the light on, if you just light a candle, if you would turn around with that torch, turn around and look at it, then you're going to see that it was the jacket over the chair, or it was your slippers under the bed, or it was the neighbor's dogs. Nothing to be afraid of. So it's kind of like the lifting of the veil. All right. Now, fog is tied to or corresponds with illusions, chaos, confusion. All right, that's because, like I said, you don't want to go wandering off in the woods, because you can get lost. Even driving down the road, if you don't know your way, or even if you do know your way, if it's super foggy, you might miss your turn. It's easy, it's confusing. The fog is confusing. So and so that being said, I'm repeating myself, but it's not being able to see clearly. Okay, it's having that veil, not being able to see clearly. Okay, now illusions are tied or connected with, correspond with the planet Neptune, and Neptune is the god of the seas, water, right? Fog corresponds with water, right? Because fog happens when tiny, tiny, tiny little drops of water, water vapor, condenses, but the air keeps it floating, keeps it in this liminal space. It just sort of hangs there. But what happens is, when the sun comes up, the sun heats the ground, and then the ground dries up the fog. That's what the sun does. So patience and shining that light, the sun, on that veil, we are able to see more clearly, right? So how is all that magical, right? What is this about? How is all that magical? All right. Shadow work. That's how it's magical. That's one of the ways. Is it's shadow work. It couldn't be It hit me. It hit me like that morning as I was, excuse me, looking at that picture and then doing just that little bit of work where I talked about concealing and hiding and being secret and all of that, fleeing, hiding from something's out to get us, and so we flee and we run and we hide in the fog. To me, that couldn't be any more clear than lifting that veil and going, that is shadow work right there if I've ever seen it. That is shadow work. That is the best time to do shadow work if there is fog. For me, to me, not me, I haven't used it yet, but I plan to. I think it's really awesome. So when you ignore things that you don't want to deal with, fog. Run to the fog. Conceal yourself. Hide it. Let it be a secret. No one will know. But the thing is, if the fog remains, so does the issue. So does the fear. So does the whatever it is that you're trying to, that is keeping you in the fog. If the fog never clears, then it's always just there. It's always just there, lingering, just hovering and acting as this veil so that you can't see clearly. So in order to get rid of things that you don't want to, or things that you have run from, or things that, using fog as the element, I guess, we'll go there. The only way to clear those things that aren't serving your highest good then is to lift the veil, to allow the sun to dry up the fog. What that means is it means that you have to face, you may have to go into the fog to find it. You may have to go into the fog to be surrounded by it so that you can then lift the veil, or the sun has now come and dried it up and you have faced it head on, is what I'm trying to say. We need to face those issues head on in order, we have to face them. You can't, it's not going to go away. Shadow work, the traumas, the dramas, the abuse, any sort of thing that keeps you hidden in the fog, that keeps you trapped from letting go and moving forward, has not been faced, has not been worked on. So you just need to face it and take care of business. You just have to do it. Is it easy? No, it's not. Is it scary? Yes, it is. Like I said, you go into the fog and you don't know what you're going to be up against. But here's the thing, when the sun comes out, when it gets warmer, the ground gets warmer, the earth gets warmer, the fog lifts. The fog dries up. And now you're able to face those things that need to be confronted and let go. I could not, at this point right now, and I use a lot of different methods for shadow work. I'm the weirdo, and if you're the weirdo, welcome to my weirdo club. But I am the weirdo. When I first started doing shadow work and when I first started learning about it, of course I hated it. Who wants to relive that? Not me. But guess what? Once I did it, once I confronted it, and once I said, you do not have power over me anymore, I'm living my life. I'm going to live fulfilled. I'm going to live happy. I'm going to, make my own decisions. I'm going to have choices in my life that only serve my highest good. And that memory, that thing that happened, that issue, that whatever, that I've been clinging to, that that I'm in the fog about, has not been worked on. Now it has. And you no longer have control, you no longer have power, because the fog has lifted, the veil has lifted. And now I see clearly that whatever happened, happened. It did, and I'm not trying to undermine that whatsoever. We've all had things. We've all had things, and there is not one person, not one person that can say my thing was worse than yours. Well, that happened to you. Well, let me tell you what happened to me. That does not exist. That does not exist, because it's all in how the person perceived it and how the person handled it. And so you don't know. So don't be the judge of that, because you're not. Things happen to people, and it's tragic. And things will continue to happen to people, including us, who are trying to work on our spirituality and to become spiritually aware, and to only allow things that serve our highest good in. But that doesn't necessarily mean that things aren't going to come up, because they are. I just had a trigger. You saw the video. I had a trigger. And so, I rewatched the video, and I was like, wow, that felt good. Like it just kind of felt good. But guess what? I was reliving it as I was talking about it. I'm no longer like, torn to pieces about it. But, is it still painful? Yeah, if I bring it up, it's painful. So guess what? It's not in my life anymore. So it is rare, rare, rare that I let it trigger me. It is rare. And when it triggers me, and here's the other thing, when something triggers you that you have worked on, because I have worked on it, like I said, I enjoy doing shadow work only for the reward at the end result of the shadow work, which means clarity, which means I no longer have that garbage, that thing, that bind. I no longer have that keeps me in the fog. Does it trigger? Yeah, it does occasionally. Good. I put it back in its place. The end result is weight lifted. The end result is now I can move forward on my journey without guilt, without shame, without worrying about what this one thinks or that one thinks or this one says or that one says, or I don't need it. And so but I've never tried fog. I've never thought about it to this extent. So so when the sun rises and heats up the ground and lifts that fog, so does the veil lift. And that's how I see that. And I'm super excited about sharing this next part with you, because although I have not tried this, I'm going to. It was too late that day. The fog had already lifted in the pasture for me to try this. But I'm definitely going to do this. So I'm going to present it to you today. All right. You know how, as witches, and others, not just witches, others, we collect, like we put our water out under the moon to charge it. Some of us collect rainwater. Some of us collect storm water, river water, ocean water, whatever. No lie, I have collected tears, my own tears. I have collected them because it's magic. You understand that? That had energy, and I'm able to use that in my work. I'm able to use that energy in my work. That's why we charge our water, because the moon, we charge our crystals, we charge our jewelry, we charge things, we use the moon. We set out water, we charge our water so that we can have water when it's not a full moon. We have water to charge our things that we need charged or that we want to charge. How about we collect fog? How do you collect fog? Well, it's very easy. It's really, really easy. On a foggy day, or a real humid day for those of you, if you've ever noticed that your screens, your window screens, get wet, fog water. It's fog water. So here is what I think you can do. I personally am going to, they make window screen, they make screen, like window screen. And they make it out of a, I want to say, I don't know what the fabric is. I don't know what the material is, but it's like a plastic. In other words, it's not metal because I don't want rust in it. I don't want, I know sometimes screens kind of rust, but you've seen it. I think most screens nowadays are made out of sort of this black, plasticky kind of fabric. Or you can use a very fine mesh piece of fabric if you have. It has to be very fine, very thin. Something that can get wet when it is foggy. And what I'm going to do, and I'm going to try, and it is something that I sort of saw something on this, but it was a little bit different. It's so easy, it's ridiculous. So you just make like a little tripod, a little stand like this, and you put your screen. I'm probably going to. No, I'm not, because that won't work. I'm just going to put the screen up there, piece of screen on a piece of wood, and the screen will have a point to it, right? Let me show you with this piece of fabric right here. Sorry. I have this. I love this. It's called a mola. They're hand stitched at a lot of refugee camps in like, I think this one, I'm not exactly sure where this one came from, but I want to say maybe Peru or Brazil or something, but they have refugee camps. I have a big giant mola in the house that was gifted to me. It came from Thailand, and it's beautiful. And what it is they just cut out different pieces, different fabrics. So this black, they cut holes in the black, and then this is a yellow piece of fabric underneath the black. This is blue. And they cut out the design, and then they put the different fabrics underneath it. The back is all red. But yeah, and then they just hand stitch. Everything is hand stitched. Fabulous energy, love them. Okay, so anyway, let's pretend like this is my screen or my cloth. And I'm just going to hang it to where the point is down. And if you get a jar or a bowl that's big enough, as the water starts to condense, it will start to drip. So I probably wouldn't get like a big giant one, but one that isn't going to take too long to get wet. And then it will drip, and it will start to drip into your bowl like that. And I'm thinking that you might be able to go like that and even collect more, because here's the thing, the amount of water you're going to get from that is not a lot. All right, it's not a lot, pardon me. I needed to put that back up there. It's really not a lot. It's just a tiny little bit. My feeling on that is, so that's fine. What can you do with a little tiny bit? Well, I mean, it might take a long time for you to collect enough fog water to actually do something with. But for me, I'm okay with adding it, say, to a little bottle that I've got moon water in, or whatever, rainwater or storm water or ocean water or whatever it is that you want to add the fog water to. So if I was doing a, I forgot that the top was leaking on it. Now it's all over me, but it smells good. Well, where was I saying? So, yeah, so you can add it to, so whatever your intention is, whatever it is that you're trying to do, and let's say that you want to, like you're really angry because, you know, you're trying to do the shadow work and you're just, there's anger attached to that. Maybe you do want to use, maybe you want to use the storm water, but is that going to churn things up? Maybe you want to use a lake water, a pond water that was still, something that was still, not moving. And then you could add your drops of fog water to help with the lifting of. So when you start working on whatever it is that you're working on, it doesn't have to be shadow work, but you know where I'm going with that, right? Whatever it is that you're working on, you just add a couple drops too. So, you know, if you are, let's say you're trying to, you know, I don't know, do a cleansing thing and of whatever, and you've got moon water, moon charged water, but it was from a specific date, then you could add your fog water to that if you wanted to work on releasing. So the thing for me with the fog is that is a releasing energy. That is a letting go energy. That is a dissipating energy. That's what the fog feels like to me. You can get lost in it, 100%. You can get lost in it, and it can be scary. Like I said, we see all kinds of things in the dark, you know, things that go bump in the night. But, you know, it is usually our imagination. And once we turn the lights on, light a candle, or the sun comes out, we can see that it really wasn't what we thought it was. What if we're in an area that doesn't get a lot of fog, but you want to do that? You can, because remember, this is all about intention. You can use and collect steam. So you could, I love this idea. I thought about this morning when I was kind of putting some notes together for this. Say you put a pot on the stove of moon water. I'm just using moon water as the example. And it's a small pot, and you start to heat it up and it starts to steam. Take your jar, hold it over. The jar starts to fill up with the water. Put that aside, you know, put that aside. Put the jar back over the pot. Let your jar get steamed up. Once it starts dripping, drip it into your bowl or the jar that you're going to use, that you're going to seal with your fog water in it. The other thing that I'm going to add to mine, because, you know, I do add stones to my oils and stuff like that, and I do add stones sometimes to my different waters that I use. I have all kinds of, I have waters from everything. I mean, storm waters, moon waters, eclipse waters, you name it, hurricane water, snow water, lake water, pond water, swamp water. Love my swamp water. I love my swamp water. And so I have waters from all kinds of places and all kinds of things. Make sure you label your bottles, what it is. And so sometimes I put certain stones in those, either just to, because I feel like that stone resonates with or corresponds with that particular energy of that water. But I'm going to, for whatever reason, smoky quartz called out to me for fog. And I thought, I get it. I get that. I get it. Because it's no longer a clear quartz. It's kind of dark and mystical. Um, not the radiated, uh, smoky. Sorry. Not the radiated smoky, not the black, real dark, dark, dark smoky quartz, but the ones that are fairly clear and it just has a little grain in it. Very much reminded me of the fog. So that I'm going to try it. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try it. You know, I don't know when we'll get the next fog. I didn't know that we were going to have fog that night. So you know, I guess if the weatherman knows, then I'll know. But if not, I might try the steam water only because until maybe summer might be different, where you can get some kind of condensation actually from the actual earth elements as opposed to boiling water. So anyway, I'm going to try it and see what happens. And yeah, I think I'm going to use my whistling teapot because the steam comes out the point, and I'm going to put my jar there. And when it starts to get condensate, you know, gets drippy, then I'll drip it into another jar that that's going to actually hold my steam water. And it's not fog, so it is going to be different. But it's all about um, you know, it's all about the intention because as soon as I turn that teapot off, the steam goes away. So sort of that same thing as when the sun comes out, right? I don't know. It's you have to really you have to use your mind. You have to think about it. You have to get out of the box. Get out of the box and see what happens. So I certainly didn't mean for this to be about shadow work. You can. It's just for me that hit home for me because, like I said, I work with shadow all the time. I think it's super super important for our growth, for our spiritual growth, and for our empowerment and yeah, but you can use it for anything, and I just love it. I love the idea. So get some screen or get anything, fabric, anything that might get condensation from the fog on it that will drip down. And give it a try and let me know how it works for you. All right, guys, I'll see you next time. Have a great week. Be safe out there, and talk to you soon. Bye, Mwah.